Welcome to EFT Nation, your home for all things tapping. For show notes and resources, please visit EFTtappingtraining.com. We are your tapping hosts. I'm Alina Frank.
And I'm Craig Wiener. The information provided in this podcast is not a substitute for counseling or medical advice. The information presented here is meant to inspire and educate listeners, but are not guarantees of any kind.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about something pretty near and dear to my heart because that's how I started my EFT journey, and that is working with physical issues. And I don't think I get a day that doesn't go by, or every other day, I get an email from someone asking me about tapping on physical conditions. And the question I get asked most often, which makes me smile, is the idea that there is a tapping script for any particular illness, and that let's just stop that falsehood right now. It's a myth.
What do you tap on for shoulder pain? What do you tap on for psoriasis? What do you tap on for glaucoma? What do you tap on for MS? What do you tap on for... Right.
Yeah. And that's the reason why we picked this podcast up, is because we really want to educate the public about things like this, all the myths and misinformation out there. So, and today we have our mascot joining us. So you might hear her in the background, BB. And
tapping BB Bear.
Tapping BB Bear. You can find her on Instagram, and she's just a brand new little puppy. And hopefully coming to a workshop or training near you, right?
But if you hear her in the background. Okay, let's talk about people that if they're tapping for physical conditions, some of the concerns that they should consider first.
Oh, yeah, like what to tap on.
And even before that would be, please make sure before you start tapping on some physical condition that you have it checked, that you have a diagnosis, that you've had it properly evaluated before you start tapping on why you're bleeding in the middle of the night. Make sure you know what's going on. Right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that is something that we teach, is the importance of asking that question. Have you seen a doctor?
Yeah, and whether it's a naturopath, medical doctor, whoever you're comfortable with, evaluating what your condition is. So, then you could work more effectively and safely with it. Because when we're using EFT for working on physical conditions, truly we're not working on the condition. What we're working on is the emotional contributing factors and stressors that are affecting your body or having an influence on it showing up. Like the symptoms or the signs in your body are like a dashboard for something that's happening underneath, right? Emotionally. So that's what our focus is.
So we're not treating or healing or addressing the physical condition or illness or disease. What we're doing is addressing the underlying core emotional contributing factors of why
that's showing up
showed
in your body.
Up. Yeah.
And one of the things is that when I see people really get over their physical conditions, part of them has come to an understanding that their body is showing up with that condition, that diagnosis, those symptoms for a reason.
Yeah.
Their body is trying to overcome something energetically and emotionally, and that's showing up as the best survival way to be able to do that. Right? So when we start to have that understanding, that's a helpful way for starting to be in relationship with our body, not like, oh, my body's trying to cause me harm, my body hates me, my body, right? All of those things. So, there are a lot of studies out there that are starting to show, and that have shown EFT to be effective. We've got, for example, studies that show chronic pain down 57% in one study. We've got other ones that are showing real changes in the body. The replication study that shows the stress hormone cortisol down 37%. We've got immune markers and epigenetics that are up 113%. So we've got blood pressure down 8%. So there's quite a lot of research showing EFT to have an effect not just on the symptoms. And we're going to have an fMRI study being done this next year for chronic pain as well. So a lot of exciting study for the results that are happening and for the mechanisms of how that's happening as well. Yeah?
Yeah. All right. So I think what you were saying is we don't know the exact mechanism, but maybe if you give your body a chance to de-stress, You give it all all that your immune system has to fight, attack, and overcome what it is that you have.
Yeah, I mean, if we can reduce the stressors on the body, then the body has a greater chance of healing, right? And so that's what we're doing with tapping.
Right.
So when you start to think about whether it's that skin condition you have, whether it's that knee pain you have, whether it's whatever condition you're dealing with, that irritable bowel problem, you know what? There's stress involved with it. You can't have a condition for a period of time without having stress and negative emotions about it.
Right.
Because there's a worry that it's not going to go away.
Right.
There's frustration that you're still dealing with it. It's anger that the doctor said that you'd never get over it.
Right.
It's all these different emotional stressors. So as a chiropractor, somebody comes to me and they show me an MRI or they show me, they tell me about an injury. And I say, sure, there's the physical component. But what we're doing with EFT is we're working on the emotional energetic components to it so that the body can start to really turn that healing back on, right?
Right.
Yep. Okay.
All right. So let's talk about some of the ways that we can use EFT and tapping EFT.
Sure.
To work with these. So I think what you just said, which is we could actually there is a way to tap on just the symptoms. It's like the least effective way, and that is called like chasing the pain, where you tap on, even though I've got this black and purple headache on the side of my forehead, and it's the size of a dime. So getting really specific about the description of the symptom, but really that is the least effective way to resolve these issues. And what we need to do is get to the underneath the underlying emotions around it. So tapping on your frustration and anger and the things that you're feeling about it, listing things that you've read and tapping on it.
So I would say that's a great starting place.
Yeah.
So just right now, if you were sitting here and you were tapping on whatever sign or symptom or condition you had,
right
now, in this moment, in the present moment, tune into how you feel about having that.
Right.
Right? It's a great starting place.
Yeah.
I am so frustrated.
Yep.
How much? Like an 8. Where do you feel it? In my head. I'm so frustrated in my head that I have this knee pain because I can't play golf right now.
Yeah.
And so I can tap on that. So that's
Right.
like a kind of a first beginning entry level in.
Yep.
Right?
How about then looking for the triggers that may have led to this in the first place? Because people think like, well, nothing was happening to me when I started getting this whatever last Thursday. And they don't really think about, well, maybe you had stressors or events or traumas that led up to the eventual having it show it in the body. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I actually like to break it up into two ways. One would be the triggers for like flare-ups.
Right.
Right. So it's an ongoing condition. And what's happening? What's stressful before? Do you tend to notice, for example, well, before my headache gets worse or before I can't sleep at night, my kids are being jerks, right? And they're just being disrespectful. And I notice a theme that I get triggered first by being disrespected,
Right.
and then the headache or the pain comes on. So
Like a classic one is, well, I get it on Monday mornings, when I'm going to work, or
Right.
I don't have my symptoms when I'm on vacation. Like those are clues that you have these constant triggers in your environment that you're conscious or unconscious of that are really exacerbating.
Right. So you do basic EFT, even though, thinking about this afternoon when my son rolled his eyes at me and it just, oh my God, it just drives me crazy when he does that. And just thinking about that right now makes me feel really disrespected.
Yeah.
I deeply and completely accept myself, etc. So triggers.
Right.
But then also when we play detective, we can explore, when did this problem start? And, I started exploring, not necessarily, for me as a chiropractor, I'd always say, what was going on, and the person before your shoulder pain started and say, well, I didn't do anything different that day. And they just kind of get stumped with that. But if I ask them, what about the last month or 2 or 3 even? Have there been any significant stressors or life changes? Anything that's been really, peaking that level of stress? It's like, well, it didn't started the month before when all of a sudden, somebody quit at work and I had to take on, the role of 2 people. And then all of a sudden the expectations got really high. But, the shoulder pain didn't start for a month after that.
Right.
But often playing detective for those changes before it even started coming on is often a good source of things to tap on.
Yeah. So, I mean, with clients, what I would do is take a pulse check of the condition and just like the pain. Let's just say it's pain, like the pain that they were feeling. And I might not even do any of that side sort of tapping EFT, chasing the pain on symptoms and that kind of thing. I'll just leave it aside. Work on the emotional contributing factors, the stressors, the things in their lives. Maybe this was a way for the body to get their attention once and for all, that things in their lives are just not working right. And so when we go through and tap on those things and be specific about those events, then at the end of the session, I will say, and now tell me about your pain. And it was just remarkable how that's when they got it. Like, wow, you didn't even talk about my condition at all, and it's better. And they would make that connection.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that. And because people don't make that connection. But I often find a lot of clients do make meaning out of it.
Yes.
So I want to find out,
Right.
I know there are a lot of different ways out there and kind of maps of what symptom means what. And that's not what we're talking about today, unless you're really trained and skillful with that. The inquiry that's even more powerful is if I'm working with a client or I'm working myself, it's like, what meaning am I making that?
Right.
Why do I think that I have this back pain and it's not going away?
Right.
I can tune into, for example, what emotion that I think that has. And okay, so then ask myself, it's like, all right, why is my back so angry?
Right.
Right?
And what else in my life makes me angry?
Exactly.
These are powerful questions that we train our practitioners to ask, to open us up to some thinking and making connections about and reflecting. All right, what else is going on here? So other ones could be, if your symptom had a voice, what would it be telling you?
What do you think that it's trying to tell you right now if it was? So if your body's always trying to heal and always trying to inform you and always trying to help you, what might it be trying to tell you? And
Yeah.
I'll hear things like, well, probably it's pissed off because I haven't taken a day off in the last 3 months.
Exactly.
And so now I start to think about, okay, why haven't I taken a day off in 3 months? Well, because the pressure of this bill that I have to, and all of a sudden we start tuning into the reality of what my body might be trying to tell me.
Right. And also, I know that you just said, there are different maps and things, but you don't even need any of that. Just ask, imagine that the body is a living, breathing metaphor for what's not right in your life, and listen for those things, as you're describing something. It's a pain in my butt. Okay, like who or what is the pain in your butt? Yeah, I've got this pain, like somebody stabbing me in the back. Well, who or what is stabbing you in the back? What situation feels like it's stabbing you in the back? What person feels like they betrayed you? And just take that and make those connections and start tapping. You can even tap on, even though I don't know what this is about, in order to start your mind connecting to the things that are related.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, there's no right way in.
Right.
Right? There's no right way to tap on your digestive problem,
How
your
to
breathing
start.
problem, your pain
Yeah.
problem. But you know what? Here's the one thing that I do is tapping tunes you in. Right?
Yep.
So once you start tapping, it starts tuning in. Your subconscious, your psyche, and your body
Right.
starts making connections and having you think of things that you wouldn't have when you were sitting there before you started tapping.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So just getting started. And how long does it take to tap on? Well, I mean, I've watched thousands of times where somebody will just have 2 rounds and their symptoms will drop 50% quickly. Now, sometimes we get amazing results quickly, and sometimes it's really the symptoms are
persistence.
yeah, because they're an indicator of a bigger, more stressful problem that's going on, especially
Right.
chronic conditions.
Right.
Because we adapt to having chronic conditions too.
Yeah.
And then we can even develop those kind of secondary gains and what are called psychological reversals, which are then the part of us that feel unsafe or uncomfortable getting rid of the problem
Right.
that we've had for so long.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a future episode. It's worth covering.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the other thing I wanted to say is that it's what we hear out in our environment with the news, with social media, with what our friends are telling us, all of those things and it are contribute to our fear factor, which does lower our immune response. So it is important, especially this day and age where we're recording this in the like the coronavirus fears are out there, and we just wanted to give you these tips to like really work on your fear. Even if it's nothing else, you just work on your fear, you're going to give yourself a better chance of not getting it at all.
Is this like a full-on course in how to heal yourself of any physical condition? No, but it's a great way to begin experimenting and using EFT and tapping to start exploring and being the detective with why your body at this time might be struggling with this, why this might be happening for you. And, I see people all the time with amazing results that happen. So you just never know. It's worth trying it on anything. Again, you're not treating the condition.
Yeah.
You're exploring to see if you can release those emotional stressors associated with it. And then bing, bang, boom, body has a better chance to heal. It's more likely than not tapping.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So thanks for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed that and it was useful. Thanks for joining us today at EFT Nation. And remember that you can find show notes and previous epissodes at EFTtappingtraining.com.